Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Farmers, Traffic at Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Monday, June 3rd. It is the first trading day of the month. And, what can you say? A decent trading day in terms of, where things basically held up for today. The gap ups are always a little bit difficult to deal with. This was one of those days where the market gapped up a little bit. And considering what happened on Friday, which was that major ramp up in the afternoon for end of month and some index rebalancing, it was a little bit of a give back. But price held where it needed to. That was one of the things that I was kind of, basically watching and, watching a lot of setups today and whether they would materialize, and whether we would hold basically where we need to. So for the day, I think, pretty decent. These gap ups are tricky. They're not easy to deal with. I came into today extremely light. I've been actually it was, probably the lightest that I've been in terms of exposure in a couple months. But I kind of came in today just like, hey, let's, look for some opportunities if they occur. And not try to chase in the first half hour of the day, because that hasn't worked, at all. It's been better if you've got positions on, in my opinion, to be selling in the first, 15, 20 minutes, and then being picky and choosy as the day wears on. So, there's definitely some heavier strategy than normal, than just looking for setups like on the 5-minute bar. I think you really have to be strategic with what you're doing, so that you don't get caught with starting positions at the wrong place at the wrong time. Risk disclaimer in front of you: everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. Of course, in this video, everything that we're talking about is for education purposes. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. So for the day, you had the Qs, which should not be red. That's confusing me. That's why maybe I was a little bit confused there. But the Qs led today. They were up 0.5%. The small caps interesting. So I'll start to go through these charts, but they sold off the most, even though bonds were strong today. So as a reminder, like just to kind of give you a sense of like why bonds rallied. Well, bonds were very strong in the beginning of the day, but we had some economic data, the ISM manufacturing, as well as construction paid. Those numbers coming in at lighter than expected. So what's been the pattern? When the economic data misses a little bit, I wouldn't call today a huge miss, but the data missed, is we see bonds rally, right? It's and we see the dollar sell off. So those things are generally for equities a bit more of a risk on, but you really didn't get that too much because of just, IWM was already at resistance when it opened for the day. So if you take a look at at IWM on the daily chart, you're going to see very close to the top of value, and a red candle. That IWM ETF has been kind of difficult. You could see there short-term resistance right at that blue line. That should actually be the top of value for the month as well. So that's where that was in. And it was kind of funny in the trading room this morning. I had set up, I was like, hey, I'm actually going to be looking to maybe fade the strength in IWM because it was indicated up about 1.1% going into the open, but it really moved quickly. And, with everything else going on in the open, I wanted to see how IWM opened first, but it completely just went straight down. And I just didn't get it. I think within 15 minutes, IWM gave back the gains. So that's how IWM has been trading, tricky. And we'll go to a couple of the other indices, because what I wanted to talk a little bit about is just the structure. We obviously have new value areas for it looks like we have a kind of a doji there. We have new value areas for the month, right? So all of these indices have opened up basically inside the value area. So here's SPY, resistance 531. And remember, like what this means when something opens up or is in value versus above. So above value is breaking out and trending. And that's the main thing, is trending, right? Breaking down is trending to the downside, and inside its value area is basically you're in a sideways, you're still in a range essentially, and you'll be in that range until 531.46 is broken, right? But however, I think a good first step to kind of get going a little bit to the upside. So you do have a red candle for the day because Qs did sell off. Here's what happens at Qs during the day. So we've kind of set this the MarketWebs up here. Notice that I've got like multiple gray boxes here, right? And I know that could be a little bit confusing if you're not used to this, but I've got two versions of the MarketWebs on TradingView. And what they basically tell me is we're looking at the 5-minute. So just very simply, this little gray box down here, that's the value area for the day, right? So we started here, basically, this was at 9:30, 9:45 in the morning, and we just kind of started to kind of move our way down. So we found support right where we needed to, as I said in the beginning of this video. This other box that you see here is the value area for the week, right? So I'm looking at this period and I'm looking at the next period higher, which is 1 hour. And this big gray box is the value area for the week. So notice what we did here. Like we found support here. We kind of hesitated to try to get back into the value area for the week, which is where we started. But price was able to do it. So did not finish above, the highs of the day. But I think that's good to kind of come in and back test, because again, you go back to last week, right? And we had this big ramp up, and I think it's normal for the market to kind of retrace some of that crazy move that we saw at the end of the day, right? Backfill a little bit. And that's exactly what we did. So, and if you just want to see that value area for the week, right, now you'll see the smaller box here is the value area for the week, right? 1 hour, and the next higher value area is for the month, which is this box, right? So again, it takes a little bit getting used to, but it's really methodical once you kind of get the hang of it. And as I was mentioning to members earlier today, I'm like, hey, if we could get back into the value area, it kind of gives me a sense of like, if we're trading below, it's a bit of a red light. If it's back inside the value area, it's a green light, right? And it's not, I would really probably say it would be a brighter green light if we got above the value area for the week. Notice that the top of the value area for the week lines up exactly with the value area for the month. All right, so there'll be some resistance, but you could see from our indicator, that's about 1.4% up, where we're going to encounter some resistance if we can get through this 200 period moving average, which acted as some resistance earlier in the day. All right, so that's what's going on there. And in terms of stocks, what I wanted to really kind of, here's my sector, which I've been trying to basically, I show in here probably once a week to publicly, but here's our sector screen. And interesting, like if you go back to the spreadsheet that I've got too, which is just for the day, really the energy stocks got hit hard today. Look at some of these things. There was this OPEC agreement over the weekend, but look at OIH was down almost 5% for the week. XLE was down 2.6%. So energy stocks really, even though they were strong, like there was a lot of possible rebalancing into some value groups like energy, consumer staples, utilities. We really saw big green bars or candles from Friday's price action, but some of that was given back. Interesting, the industrials, I talked a little bit about the industrials in the weekend member video, that they're just not showing, they've lost that little leadership that they had for a little bit. There's a lot of industrials making new highs going back about a month or so ago. You don't have that anymore. So they've kind of lost their luster. I would also say the home building group also lost its luster too, even though it's not showing weak here, but you had the home builders for a while and the industrials doing extremely well. I would even add the financials into that group too. And all of those groups have, they've lost that upside momentum and don't look 100% great. I would say they don't look horrible, but they're not looking like they were. So so you kind of just weed out some of the groups that are just not participating as well, or concentrate on maybe one of those, one name in that group, rather than going back a couple months ago, we were seeing like five over 5 setups in the industrials, and same thing in the financials. So interesting to kind of see that change a bit. Metals and mining still strong. The gold miners, which this should be in green, and sometimes with these cells I lose the formula in them, but utilities, Consumer staples still above all those moving averages. And interesting, healthcare kind of came into the picture, right? Healthcare has not looked particularly good, right? So we could kind of look at that chart really quickly. Whoops. Biotech had a nice day today, right? So again, I think still very sideways. It's tough to kind of, this is also trading in a range right now. Up, then down, then up, then down. Those are not my favorite types of setups. I like progress. I like when something makes progress. Biotech did not close on the highs, so basically not breaking down, but not breaking higher, right? Just to look at those groups. In terms of names that I was concentrated on, I kind of started with a slimmer watch list than I start with, even though I think I had about, roughly 15 names on here. Yeah, 16 names, and then you could see all the names in yellow is what I basically added today. So I did trade some. I'm legging into NVDA a bit. After unfortunately, when we look at NVIDIA, which sold off at the end of the week, talked about how that was kind of gave a little bit of a buy the dip opportunity. It filled this gap. For now, I'll be long as it stays above the 5-period moving average, right? And we'll see how that works. It's trending. It's acting really well. I think dips will continue to get bought. So I mentioned in the beginning of this video about being strategic with entries, right? Definitely leaving dry powder, because I think this market, from depending on what day of the week it is, will give you some opportunities to get into some of these things cheaper. So I don't think that you need to do any outside positions here. I think that you can kind of, wait, and that's what I did today. I mean, I established a position in the beginning of the day, and then waited till this kind of came in a little bit, and I added more somewhere in here. I think I didn't get the low of the day, but I was waiting. I was like, my plan was to add more at 1100 in NVIDIA, but it didn't get down there. Right, a couple other names too. I'm not going to go over that many names, but I'll go over the new names and why I added them to our watch list. Well, First Solar has been acting the best out of the solar group, but it did not break the high. So if we go to the 1-hour chart, what I'm looking at here is the top of this week's value area. So notice 283.11, right? That's where I have our trigger set up, right? So everything is very methodical, right? So I'll be looking for a break of that 283. If it doesn't, we'll see where it kind of ends up, but for now it's inside value, bouncing around the value area, and it might do that for a little bit longer, considering the strength that happened. Another name, Meta, didn't get to the break. It got to the breakout point, but stalled. And I'll just use this 1-hour chart, but well, I'll do the daily chart too. But notice 478.64, right? Some resistance there. Notice that this value area for the week, as the top of value, lines up pretty closely with the top of the value area for the month. Also, I think this has to, for confirmation purposes, it has to get over the 50-day moving average. It's close, right? But I like to wait for a little bit of confirmation, right? Another member name that was brought to my attention today was pizza. Domino's Pizza made a nice move over the, nice digestion. I filled the earnings gap, right? So earnings gap, digestion, bad pizza, and sorry, horrible. Filled the gap, and then nice move today. So it did break above the through the whole value area for the day. So pretty impressive price action. I did start a position in Domino's today. Wix is another name. A lot of these, that's the benefit of the market pulling back a little bit, right? Some of these names which were really strong, for instance, Wix on earnings, also digestion, and back above the 5-period moving average. All right, just a couple other names. Costco, I think, is good to have on the watch list. That name reported last week. It did not break through that top of value, but very close. I am long this in the TTG trend portfolio, but not in my trading account right now. All right, and CEG saw some option activity today. There's January calls, so this is maybe some buying some calls on the dip. What you want to see for this name, if you're looking to buy the dip, is for this to hold 206.65. That's the bottom of this month's value area. All right, and that's it. We'll kind of we'll make it a shorter video to start the week, but ultimately, today was one of those days where you had to be, strategic, not chase, take some profits on the open if you had some positions, and look and be picky and choosy, which is what I had mentioned in the weekend video, and go from there. But nice to start the month in green, and yeah, and look to build on gains, and wish everybody a great month. Have a great day, everybody.